Welcome to the Red Line Podcast, episode 3. With Jared and Blake, we are being good citizens and social distancing for this episode. So I'm in my basement, and Blake, where are you?
I'm also in my basement.
Nice. Are you in your parents' new house?
No. I am at my normal house.
Oh, okay. I thought you were moving, so I was getting a little excited.
That's end of the month.
End of the month.
Yep.
What else is at the end of the month? My birthday.
Oh, look at that.
So our marketing team, if you want to fan that out to all our fans to send in some birthday gifts, that'd be great.
And some housewarming gifts.
Yeah, true. We could use both of those.
Yeah, you guys write that down?
Yeah, I think, well, again, we don't pay them enough. They do so much good work.
Yeah.
And they've been doing really good work in promoting this episode, and I'm very excited for this episode.
Yeah, Jared, give us a rundown of what's going to happen this episode, since we're all stuck at home.
Yeah, there has not been a lot of sports going on, and what an ideal time to launch a sports podcast literally 2 weeks before the coronavirus shuts pretty much every sports league possible on this earth. So what we've thought about to do for this episode is have our listeners send in would you rather questions. And so we've had a ton of requests come through. So we've picked a select number. I think we've got maybe 12 or so questions that we're going to answer on the podcast. But what we did do is when people submitted their questions, they were, if they wanted to be, they're eligible for being a guest on our podcast today. So we did a random draw, and 3 guests are coming on the podcast, and they agreed to come on the podcast. Our marketing team has been hard at work in connecting with them and getting all the technology sorted out. And we have 3 guests. So we won't unveil who they are yet, but we'll introduce them when they come on.
Sounds exciting. This should be an interesting format.
Yeah, we haven't had any guests, so it should be interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, since we're recording remotely, it should be hopefully no technical difficulties. So
yeah, here's hoping. We'll probably be all over each other.
Yeah, could happen.
Yeah, talking over each other and everything, but whatever. It happens.
It happens.
So we'll have a fair mix of sportsy would you rathers as well as non-sportsy would you rathers. And so it'll be a good balance and have a little bit of something for each of our listeners.
And we'll also be getting the guests to answer some of the would you rather questions.
True. That's what I'm looking forward to. So we'll have to get them answering that as well. Awesome. Well, when we come back, we will answer our first 2 submissions, and then we will have our guests. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Red Line Podcast, episode 3, and period 1, where we are going to answer our first 2 would you rather questions. And we received a lot of good submissions, and I'm really looking forward to going through these and hearing what rabbit trails these go down.
Yeah, these are both very sports-related questions, so keeping in theme of sports podcast.
Yes, very much so. And these first 2 questions actually came both from Trent. So thanks, Trent, for sending these in. The first question is, would you rather have been in the rink for the golden goal in Vancouver in the 2010 Olympics or Game 8 of the Summit Series, Blake?
Well, I think first, for the people at home who don't know what the Summit Series is, maybe we should explain that for them.
Yeah, that's
a little bit of background.
That's a good point. There was a series, I think it was in the 60s, between the Canadians and the Russians, and it was, I believe it was an 8-game series total, and this was the last game of the 8-game series. And it was a super tight game, and right at the end, it was 5-5, and Paul Henderson scores a goal for Team Canada to beat the Russians, and yeah, one of my favorite books growing up. I had a book about the golden goal. I probably still have it somewhere, and I used to read that book over and over and over again. I think it was called The Golden Goal, actually.
Oh, really? For
It's
this
kind
is
of
for the
ironic.
yeah, actually,
We're
yeah.
talking about the golden goal, but anyways, the difference between Game 8 of the Summit Series and the golden goal we're talking about here is Sidney Crosby's golden goal at the 2010 Olympics when he scored in overtime and basically won the gold medal for Canada. One of my favorite things in that video and watching now is you can hear Sidney Crosby go Iggy right as Iggy has the puck and passes it to Crosby, and Iggy is my all-time favorite athlete of all time. So that was a special moment for me. But I'll let you answer the question first before I go any further.
Well, this is pretty easy for me. It's going to be Crosby's golden goal for several reasons. One being that I wasn't alive at the time when the summit happened, so I have no memory of it. But the golden goal I actually watched live, so I actually remember seeing it. Second being that Crosby was one of the boys, growing up, just lived down the street.
That's right.
So that's not totally true. It was probably like a 30-minute drive, but he was one of the local guys that you kind of watched growing up. I think I saw him in the queue a couple times, the QMJ
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so he kind of, there was more presence. He was more of like a dominant person in Nova Scotia growing up than probably people out here in Calgary. So, yeah, he's been one of the boys growing up. So seeing him score that goal would be a lot more impactful, knowing that I know people who know him sort of thing, and like seeing the place where he grew up and watched him play in the queue. And yeah, so those are the two bigger reasons why I think I would pick the golden goal.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm jealous of you for sure. I mean, we're pretty lucky in Calgary to have a lot of good, high quality sports, like with the Hitmen in terms of we're talking minor hockey with Sidney Crosby here, or junior hockey rather. But yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I would say the golden goal would be my preference out of the two. Partially, I mean, they're both super impactful in Canadian hockey history, but I have a closer connection with the players that were involved with the golden goal than they were in the Summit Series. And again, yeah, what I said earlier about my favorite player being Jerome McGinley, watching him live and doing that would be, that would have been one of the highlights of my life if I was able to watch that and been in the rink for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a really good question. I love that question.
We're a bit of a younger generation, so we're probably a little biased, but
yeah, that's true. Do you want to read the second question from Trent?
Sure. So second question. Would you rather have tickets to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals or full season tickets with no playoff tickets?
Oh, boy. That is... Okay, I do know what I'm going to answer this for because he didn't specify which team in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and this would dictate who I pick. If the Flames aren't playing in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, my choice would be I would pick full season tickets with no playoff tickets. And that would be because I would just get more games and I'd get to watch them more and enjoy it more. However, if the Flames were playing in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, I would pick that over full season tickets. So
that's a well thought out answer.
Yeah, I would say that would be my answer. How about you?
Only the Flames, eh? Like if it was any other team in the final, there's no other team you'd want to see.
See,
like even if it was Edmonton and they lost or something.
Yeah, it kind of goes into the caveat of like full season tickets. If it's full season tickets to the Flames, I would still take that over. If it's full season tickets to like the Oilers or the Canucks, I would take Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But honestly, that is a really good point you make. To go to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. But I think I'm going to stick with my answer of saying if it wasn't the Flames in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, I would pick. Oh, man, that's so tough.
That is tough. I was really on the fence with this one, too.
Yeah.
I originally thought, like, I'd take the full season.
Yeah.
And thinking back, like, in 20 years from now, if I had full season tickets, would I really appreciate it that much? But if I had a Game 7 ticket, I'd remember it for sure, and it'd be a lot more special.
Yeah.
So the memory of having like that Game 7 experience would be worth more than the full season, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good question. Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. It's a hard question.
The question is it? Oh, it says tickets. It's plural. So is it like you and one other person? So you and me, we get to go to a game or have full season tickets?
Yeah. Take team bias out of the way. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, hands down. If we weren't talking about the Flames or whatever, it was just, do you get to go to the Stanley Cup Finals Game 7 game or have full season tickets to X team? I'd pick the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we're on the same page.
Awesome. What a good question. All right. Well,
Yeah.
We're off to a good start here. When we come back, we will have our first guest, and we will not reveal him until we come back on the show. But stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to the first period. We are about to kick off the first ever guest to the show. And our honorary guest is Scotty. Welcome, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Good to be here. I'm a big fan of you guys and your podcast.
Well, we appreciate it. Love to hear from our guests or our fans.
Yep.
So what we're going to do here, Scotty, you submitted 2 questions to us. So we're going to read these questions and we're going to answer them. And we're also going to get you to answer these questions. So if you're ready to go, we'll read off the first one.
Sure.
Right, it's the first question that you asked us. Would you rather the Oilers or the Canucks win the Cup? Jared, what do you got to say?
Oh boy, there's no right answer. Who would I rather win, the Oilers or the Canucks? I've forever had a deep hate for the Canucks, and it all started with Alex Burrows and Ryan Kessler, Kevin Bieksa, and those plugs. So my hate runs deep, and it still runs deep. The Sedins, as talented as they were, I hated them, and I still hate the Canucks. The Oilers, I've always hated the Oilers. However, the Oilers were so bad for so long that there was a little, sliver of me that was like, okay, this is just getting painful watching the Oilers suck for so long that I can't even bear it anymore. Show some sign of life and some kind of sign of breath and success. And then Connor McDavid joined them, and it's like the best hockey player on the face of this planet. And I just can't hate McDavid. As much as I would want to hate McDavid, I just can't. The guy's he's too good. And Draisaitl is an absolute beast. I hate Cassian, but that's goes without saying. So to answer this question now, I would say that I would rather the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup, as painstaking as it is for me to say that.
That's tough. Yeah, for me, not growing up in Calgary, it's not like I don't hate the Oilers as much as some people probably. And I also don't hate the Canucks because I have no real reason to.
Fair enough.
Growing up playing like NHL 2003, remember that game? It was a beauty. I actually used to play as the Flames and the Canucks. That being said, yeah, I don't know why. I just kind of picked 2 random Canadian teams. I did like again last, so. But
right.
Honestly, I kind of agree with you on the Oilers. Like, McDavid's just a beauty, so I'd like to see him win it because he's just so good. And there's really no one on the Canucks that I care for, so I'd probably go with the Oilers.
Okay, good answer. Now Scotty's on the hot seat here.
Yeah. What do you feel about this, Scotty?
This is a tough one as well for me because kind of hate both teams. And growing up in Calgary, I for sure it was in my blood to hate both teams. But I'd have to say I kind of agree with Jared, seeing the Oilers suck for so long and getting so many first-round draft picks, but still not having a team at all.
Yeah.
And then this year they're actually potentially going to be in the playoffs if that ends up happening.
Oh, so good.
So I think I'd have to also go with the Oilers here. I am also a fan of Connor McDavid, and I mean, he is an incredible player to watch, and just his speed and his athleticism. It's crazy to watch, and you definitely don't want to be on the opposition on the opposing side when he gets going. So yeah, I gotta say probably Oilers.
Right. I'm sure that
We're on the same
wasn't
page.
easy for you. I'm sure that was not an easy question for either of you, because growing up in Calgary, you probably hate saying that you rather the Oilers win, but
Yeah, especially when you know people too that are just Oilers fans that are just in your face all the
right.
time about the Oilers, and it's just like, that's the last thing I want to say is that I want the
Yeah.
Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. But you know what? I could say it in this scenario. But I believe there's another question that Scotty submitted.
Yeah. Let's Jared, why don't you read this one for us?
Sure, I'll read this one. So this one is not sportsy, and this is our only non-sportsy question of our first period here. But the question is, and funny enough, this was actually submitted by somebody else. This was submitted by Ross, this exact same question. So thank you, Ross, as well for sending in this question. Would you rather have a dog with a cat's personality or a cat with a dog's personality? Blake.
Okay, well, I would say a cat with a dog's personality, probably. Because the reason I don't really care for cats is because, well, most cats, is because they're kind of standoffish and don't really interact with you and kind of just do their own thing. Whereas a dog's more friendly and wants to hang out with you. So it's more of the personality of the dog that makes it cool than its appearance, I guess.
Yep.
So you can do more fun stuff with it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
that's
with
an
you
easy
on
one.
that. I'm with you on that. I hate cats to begin with. So for me, like, and with cats, it has nothing to do with how they look. It's how they act.
Completely.
And I hate that. And if I had a dog that acted like a cat, it would drive me crazy because in my mind, I'd be like, you dumb dog, act like a dog. Don't act
Right.
like a cat.
Yeah.
And so if I had a cat that acted like a dog, I'd be expecting the worst out of my cat, and then my cat would be surpassing my expectations of being a cat. And it's
Yeah, you set the bar low and then it over delivers on your expectations as opposed to the other way
Kind
around.
of like
Yeah.
me. I under promise,
Yeah.
over deliver.
That's exactly it.
And so, yeah, I would say I would go with the cat with a dog's personality. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, this is also a tough question. So would this be then just my dog or cat, or would this be like all dog or cats?
I think this
Would
is
it change your answer?
Well, I think it would be weird though if all dog or it could potentially change it if all dogs like are acting like cats, then it wouldn't be so different. Like you would always assume that they were acting like cats, right? So I was just thinking like if that wasn't the case, I might never buy a cat because I'm also not a cat person. And so, yeah, I don't know. I would probably assume, kind of like what Jared was saying, that the cat would be acting in such a terrible way, and then I just wouldn't buy a cat. So I don't know if that changes my answer or not, but I would probably have to go also with the dog personality. Because it is what makes the dog so lovable, right? Like it's the companionship, the friendship, and the fact that they are always wanting to be around you and play with you, and yeah. So I'd probably also have to go with the cat with the dog's personality.
Well said.
Well said. Yeah, not too much controversy over here, I guess, with the three of us.
It's like we have a new member of the Red Line podcast.
Yeah,
we're just
so on the same wavelength here. Yeah,
I know, it's incredible. Well, little known fact, but when the NBA, or well, we were hoping when we had March Madness, Scott was actually going to be our March Madness insider. But unfortunately, that had to go by the wayside. So if and when the NBA picks back up and or March Madness happens in August, which it won't happen. I think they canceled it completely. But maybe next year, we have our basketball insider, Scott Farks. Pew, pew, pew. Well, this has been fun. Scott, you're our first guest that we've ever had.
Yeah. Do you feel honored, Scott, to be the first guest on the Red Line
I do
podcast?
for sure. It's been a pleasure to be on, and as I said, I'm a huge fan of you guys, and I've been listening for such a long time, so it's a huge honor to get on this podcast.
Well, thank you for that plug.
Yeah, we just love being able to make our fans happy. We just aim to please, so it's great to be able to have you on here, Scott.
And Scott, how good is our marketing department? Can you just give them a shout out?
Oh, they're amazing! Like best I've ever seen for a podcast.
I think you've met them, right?
Yeah, they're a great bunch there. Yeah, really good at their job, and
we sure aren't paying them.
I'm sure they'll love hearing that from you guys. So.
Well, thanks again, Scott, for coming on the podcast. After this, we will be back with our second period where we will take a few more questions, and we will have our next guest. Stay tuned. All right. Welcome back to the Red Line Podcast, period number 2. And we have some more Would You Rather questions submitted through our social media channels. And we are going to answer those for you, some sportsy, some non-sportsy. So we'll have a good balance for the remainder of the podcast of both.
And we will also be featuring another guest at the end of this period. So
yeah, looking forward to that.
So let's
excited.
Let's get started with this first question then, I guess.
Alrighty.
All right, so this one comes from Aiden. Would you rather have the ability to activate super strength, but only for 1 second every day, or the ability to spontaneously create packing peanuts from your fingers?
What a question.
Yes.
How do you even come up with something like that? That's incredible. Okay. So he said for 1 second?
1 second every day.
To have super strength. Or
now, I don't know what the limit is. Yeah, what is the limit on super strength? Is that like you can push anything, like literally anything? Or what's the limit of super strength?
That's a great question. I'm going to say you have to kind of like respawn. So it's like you lose your strength and you got to build it up again like Hulk or something. I don't really, like, as cool as it would be to shoot out packing peanuts out of your fingers, I don't see a huge use for that. So I'm gonna go with super strength for a second.
See, what can you really accomplish with super strength for 1 second that you'd be doing every day?
So I would almost like only have to use it for emergencies or as like a cool party trick. So it's like, hey, check this out. And you just like toss a car 3 blocks. Oh, that's kind of cool. Or it's like you're in a situation where things are going down and you can instantly activate super strength and just absolutely beat the snot out of a bad guy or something and just knock him into the outer space and just boom, he's gone. He's obliterated.
See, that's what I was thinking too for the use cases. But for packing peanuts, it would also be a cool party trick. Like you just walk into a room and just shoot peanuts at people as a prank or something. Like,
just constantly shoot a packing peanut.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like there's a limit to how many you can create based off this question. Wait, spontaneously create packing peanuts. I'm gonna assume that.
Sorry, go ahead.
It sounds like you can do it at will.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and what I was saying was like, I could just almost see like some behind like a soccer stadium or something, like in the stands where the fans are, and some guys are like shooting off flares and smoke bombs, and then there's the one dude shooting out packing peanuts out of his fingers. He's like,
also, there is a use for it for making money, because you could just go to the company that produces these things, and that can just be your job. Just sit there for 8 hours shooting peanuts out of your fingers,
right.
And then
Amazon, sign me up. I got peanut fingers.
I feel like both you could get weird shows doing.
Yeah.
Like you could just do some weird freak show for 1 second a day if you had super strength, or if you were just like in a circus, you could be a packing peanut guy.
My 600-pound life, you just stuff yourself with packing peanuts.
Honestly, they both don't seem that useful, but I'd probably go with the strength for the same reasons you did, because it's actually like a helpful thing to have if you're in a desperate situation. You'd probably never use it, but it'd be nicer to have.
Be nicer to have in an emergency.
Yeah.
All right, I'm glad we're on the same page. Great question, Aiden.
Yeah, I don't know where you thought of that one, but
all right, what's the next one here, Blake?
All right, this one comes from Brooke. Would you rather your only mode of transportation be a donkey or a giraffe?
Oof. I mean, that's
It seems like a pretty
really
easy
cool.
one for me.
Yeah, giraffes are really cool. Don't get me wrong, but that would be an absolute nightmare trying to sit on a giraffe.
Yeah.
Like their backs are at a very steep angle.
Yes.
Like holding on to their neck, and the way they run, it would just like flip you off the back of the giraffe fairly easily, I feel like. And those
there's not really
long.
Yeah, and there's not really a good seat at all. Yeah, like at least with a camel or a donkey, sorry. Like they're known for transporting people. Like it's a normal thing to do. So
yeah,
there's a reason people ride donkeys but not giraffes. So it's a pretty easy one for me. It's gonna be donkey, obviously.
Donkey, yeah, I'm gonna go with the donkey as well.
Well, that was less difficult than the last one, I think.
But that one was a little easier. Yeah, and we're on the same page on that one. I mean, people call me a donkey for other reasons, but that's the point.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there was a lot of people who thought differently than we did. So,
I mean,
they would regret it later in life if they chose the giraffe.
They would, yeah. But Tiger King. I haven't seen Tiger King, but you could have your own thing like Giraffe King.
It's true.
You could have your own kind of giraffe, giraffe park at your house.
I don't think that'd be as cool.
Nah, not as cool.
Okay, well, that was easy.
That was easy. Next question.
All right, this question also comes from Brooke. Would you rather have to high-five everyone you meet or have to give a wedgie to anyone in a blue shirt?
A blue shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
This is also an easy one for me, but let's see what we have to say first.
Okay, I can see the thinking behind the question. It's like high-fiving absolutely everyone that you see. That could get out of hand. Like, how long is that going to take you to get somewhere? It's like you're walking somewhere and there's hundreds of people. It's like, before I get anywhere, I have to high-five every single one of these people. That's an absolute pain.
That's true.
If you have to give a wedgie to somebody in a blue shirt, it's like, okay, there might be 1 in 7 or 1 in 10 that has a blue shirt on. And we live in an environment where you don't see people's shirts a lot. So you'll be walking outside and people will have black jackets on, gray jackets on. So you won't actually be able to see their blue shirt. So
that's a very good point.
So if you're walking outside and it's like, oh, I can actually go somewhere. I don't have to touch these hundreds of people when I'm going to work. If you're somebody who works downtown and there's tons of people, it's like, no, I can just go straight there. When you get into the office and you see the blue button-up shirts, you might be in trouble. But until that point,
you go to a meeting with the clients and they're wearing a blue-collared shirt. Yeah.
Before we start this meeting, I'm just gonna have to do my rounds. Instead of exchanging business cards, you're giving out wedgies. It's like, yeah, excuse me for a second. This is how we do it in my country.
Yeah. I was born in a very remote place in Scotland, and this is the custom of my country.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Wedgerwood. Have you heard of it? It's very, very, very remote. Oh, boy.
There's some questions that I have for this question is, when it says you have to high-five everyone you meet, does that mean that you're introduced to or anyone that you see?
Does it say see or meet?
It says meet.
Okay.
So if you're walking down the street,
You don't have
You don't
to
meet anyone.
That's a good point. So that changes it, because if you only have to, if you're meeting people, well, it's like, okay, I'm gonna try and not. I mean, a high five's not that bad. So if I meet people, it's like instead of a handshake, I'll give them a high five. Hi, nice to meet you. High five. So
Yeah.
that changes it for me, because it's like, oh yeah, I'll give them a high five if I have to meet them. If it was every person you see, you have to give them a high five, I would go with
Yeah.
the wedgie.
I would too. But also, if it's a meeting, you only meet people once. So you only have to do it one time, the first time.
Also a good point.
But if it's a blue shirt, they might wear the same shirt twice. They might not wear it the first day. They might wear it the second day, you know?
That's true. And people could have multiple blue shirts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
So,
Yeah, you know what? We've dissected this.
yeah.
We've gotten to the source of the matter here. And the way it's written, I've changed my answer, because I'm thinking I would do the high five.
Yeah, you got to read the fine print. That's all in the details. Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Plus, if you go into a meeting
yeah.
and it's someone you don't know, if you give them a high five, they'll think you're kind of weird. But if you give them a wedgie, like, you're not getting their business.
Yeah.
So,
no matter how foreign they think their culture is, and you say, oh yeah, that's how we do it in my culture. No, no, they will research that, and they'll be like, no, there is nowhere on this planet where they greet each other with wedgies.
yeah, it's not going to happen. So I'm going to have to go with the high five on that one as well.
Yeah. All right. That was good. That was a good question. We dissected that one.
We dug deep into that one.
Alrighty. Is there any more questions, or are we moving on?
We will, now's the time for our guest, so we will give him a call, and we will be right back with our guest speaker for the second period.
All right. Looking forward to it. Our second ever guest on the Red Line podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Red Line podcast. We are excited to bring on our second ever guest, Justin. And Justin is a good friend of mine, and he and I have been playing soccer together for a number of years now, and he's our trusted goalie and one of the best goalies I've ever played with, that's for sure. And a special friend to me, too, because he is a diehard Liverpool fan like myself. And Blake, of course. So, Justin, why don't you say hello?
How's it going out there, guys? Glad to be on the podcast. Lovely intro. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks. So Justin submitted a really good question that I'm excited to have all of us dive into, particularly because it is important to all of us. So I'll ask this to Blake first, and then I'll answer it, and then Justin, you can answer it as well. So the question that Justin submitted goes like this. Would you rather the Calgary Flames Game 6 goal against the Tampa Bay Lightning, do you wish that goal counted and the Flames win the Stanley Cup? This is in Game 6. Or do you wish John Stone's clearance crossed the line in the Liverpool versus Manchester City game last year and Liverpool win the title? So basically what he's asking is, did that Game 6 goal where Martin Jelena and the puck was across the line and the Flames were playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, if that goal goes in, the Flames win the Stanley Cup? Or last year, John Stones cleared the ball off the line and Liverpool didn't end up winning the league because they lost that game. And in this case, if that ball went in, LFC would have won the title. So which one would you rather, Blake?
That would be the Liverpool for me, the Liverpool game. Reason being is, again, not growing up in Calgary, that, not a huge Flames fan from birth. So Liverpool is more of a favorite team than the Flames are for me. So I'd have to say that. Plus, it was such a close season that they lost by 1 point, I think it was, to City. So it would just make it that much sweeter because it's the Liverpool-Man City game. So plus this season, Liverpool will be winning it, but it's kind of a janky season because of this virus, and it's less of a win in my book because it's not a full real season. It's been so tortured and butchered. So winning it in a regular season would be a sweeter win. So
okay, that's a fair answer. I will disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I will, and I know we don't disagree very often, but for me, I'm gonna go with that Flames Game 6 goal. I remember where I was when that happened. I remember viewing the paper the next day in the Herald and seeing the headline "It was in" on the front page of the paper, and the zoomed-in camera angle of the puck over the line, and Happy Boulin's pad not being there it crushed me, and that I would take over that ball going in, and John Stone's clearance. I would take that every single day. Because of that, the Flames haven't even come close since then to living that moment. And the fact that Liverpool this year, I can definitely appreciate what you're saying about feeling a bit off about this janky season that we've been having, but LFC are, in my opinion, going to be really good for a good chunk of time. And I think if hopefully they don't cancel the season completely. I don't think they will. But I think Liverpool will be in this position again, knock on wood, for many more years to come, where the Flames, that kind of moment doesn't come along that often. So I would take the Flames in this scenario. How about you, Justin?
It's a tough one for me. I'm not a huge Flame fan per se, but I remember back in 03-04, it was great to be around the family. It brought the city together, and I do believe that puck did cross the line, so who knows what it would have changed. But for me, it would be the LFC title. It's the one thing I haven't got to experience being a diehard Liverpool fan. Got to witness the miracle in Istanbul. You won the Champions League last year. Mm-hmm. The Super Cup, Club World Cup, FA Cups. Witnessed it all being a fan since I was a young kid, but not seeing them lift the league, it broke my heart last year. Even though we won the Champions League, it's the one that's always gotten away in my mind, and it'd just be magical to see them lift it. And we will get to this year, but who knows when it might happen, how it might happen, if we'll actually get to watch it, or we'll just be seeing pictures of it actually officially being handed over. So that one for me definitely would have been sweet to see that ball across the line, and at the end of the year to see Henderson lifting it, and that would be the first trophy he would have lifted over the Champions League.
Yeah, I'm so torn on this one, and I can totally appreciate that. You're a San Jose Sharks fan, right?
Yes, I am, and I remember that whole series against the Flames in the Western Conference Final, and you guys were the better team that year. You guys played with heart. You guys, we were an amazing team. That's one of the best teams that the Sharks have ever produced, and they just came up against the team that just wanted it more that year for sure.
Yeah. Can you remember any? Because I'm not as close to the San Jose Sharks as maybe you are. Are there any moments in your life as a San Jose Sharks fan that kind of stick out to you that you remember, oh yeah, that's where I was when I watched this happen with the Sharks?
Actually, when they made the final a couple years ago in, I believe it was 17, they had won game 3, I believe it was, at home. And I remember sitting in my living room. Our youngest daughter, she was very, very small, maybe a year and a half. And when they scored, I had jumped out of my seat so loud that she just looked at me bawling because I just petrified her. Oh. So it was one of those amazing moments, but then dad mode takes over and I can't even experience it because I've scared the crap out of my little girl. So I do remember that. I also remember being young and when Owen Nolan went in on his partial breakaway, Dominic Hasek, and I believe it was 97's All-Star game. I was only 8 at the time, living in Ontario. I remember the point, seeing him score the hat trick.
Oh, yeah.
Top corner. It was just, that solidified it for me. I knew I was a Sharks fan for life at
I
that
remember
point.
that. Man, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, he points to it and then just snipes it right there.
That's back in the good old glow puck days where blue for pass, red for shot.
Oh man, Owen Nolan, when he came and played for the Flames, when he got traded. I loved when he was on the Flames, and he was actually good.
I was real close to getting a Flames jersey when he signed with the Flames that year, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But it was close because he was my favorite player, probably of all time, next to my current favorite player, which is Lassick.
Oh yes, yeah. It's crazy with Owen Nolan. Like he's Irish. Like he was born in Ireland, which is just wild.
Which is also awesome because her parents are from Ireland, and so it's kind of a little family history there, right?
Yeah, totally. That's a cool little connection.
It is.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. This was a lot of fun, and it was a great question. I know I'm still torn on it, to be honest, but I guess that was my answer, and I'll stick with it.
You kind of have to at this point. I appreciate it, boys. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
No problem, guys.
Next segment, we're going to take on and call our third guest. So stay right there. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Red Line podcast. We're starting period number 3 here, and we're pleased to welcome our third and final guest of the episode, Dave. And Dave is a longtime friend of mine and a avid Liverpool follower and supporter.
You got it.
He hasn't always been a Liverpool supporter, though.
Not always.
He has supported Coventry City in the past. Dave, would you just kind of enlighten us a little bit on how that came about?
You know what? I was a young man, and when I was a kid, Coventry City was in the Premier League, and they were quite a good team, good, respectable mid-table team. And just to be different from the rest of my family, I decided they would be my team. And it so happened that we lived pretty close to Coventry, so we went to a few games when I was a kid. We saw Coventry play Liverpool. We saw Coventry play Tottenham, Norwich. Can't remember who the other one was, but saw them a few times, and they were kind of our local team, I guess. So, and then they slipped all the way from the Premier League down to League Two, and now they're 5 points clear at the top of League One on the way back to Premier League domination.
Oh, here you go. I honestly, all jokes aside, I can respect that. And I kind of like that when people have loyalties other than the major clubs that are kind of more local to them, to where they live. In England, I think that's pretty cool. And Colin and you have told me stories about going to Coventry in the old stadium, and Colin being a Liverpool fan. And you being the Coventry fan, kind of going stuff with those. Oh, it's pretty fun, so.
A huge part of that was just wanting to make my brother angry, but that's what you do when you're a kid.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I'm jealous of you being able to watch Liverpool in the flesh. That's on my bucket list, and I still haven't got to do that yet. So hopefully I'll get to do that one day.
Nice.
So, Dave has submitted 2 questions, and they're both really good questions. And one of them, I laughed pretty hard when I read it. So we'll start with the first question. So it goes like this: would you rather be the world's greatest soccer player that no one has ever heard of, or be Jesse Lingard? And for those of you who don't know who Jesse Lingard is, he is a Manchester United player who is garbage, but thinks he's the best player on the face of the planet. So I'm going to let Blake take this one away.
Well, Dave, I've got a question for you on this one.
Go for it.
If you're the world's greatest soccer player that no one's ever heard of, are you still playing like professionally and getting paid to do so? And making a decent living, or how is this working?
I've thought about this. I feel like if you were playing soccer professionally, someone would have picked you up by now. So basically, you're the guy who plays in the rec league and dominates everyone all day and knows you could go up against Messi or Van Dijk any day and take him down. But you got responsibilities, man. You got kids to feed. You got stuff to do. There's just no way you're going to be able to pull that. So you're living the office life or something. I don't know. Okay.
I'm going to go with being the best player then, over being Jesse Lingard.
Okay.
Why is that?
I don't know, feed my ego, I guess, because you can just go into rec leagues and just destroy people.
But you're not going to be loaded.
Nah, I'd rather not be Jesse Lingard though.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Oh man, what a question. Okay, well,
Yeah.
all right. If it was me, I'd probably say I'd rather be Jesse Lingard than be the best player in the world that no one's heard of.
Okay.
And I would probably say that because as tough it is for me to say to just live that persona of Jesse Lingard and being an absolute tool. I would just I don't know. You get to play. For some reason he gets called up to the England squad somehow, and he gets to play at Wembley in front of 90,000 fans, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I would probably say I'd, as begrudgingly as it is to say it, I would probably say I'd be Jesse Lingard.
You're doing it for the money though, really.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be the only reason that I'm doing it. It's for the money. How about you, Dave? How would you answer this?
Well, you know what? I've actually been thinking about this week, and I've been regretting my question just a little bit, and I'll tell you why. So, as much as Jesse Lingard is not my favorite soccer player, and how he got on the England squad, I'll never know. But, at the end of the day, something that I find difficult to understand, and it's true in almost any profession, as soon as you get good enough at something to start making people notice you, you're going to get like 10,000 people on Twitter a day telling you that you're garbage. And that is just a weird thing. And I don't know. I mean, he's still a way better soccer player than I'll ever be.
Same.
And I remember, okay, side story. I saw a video on YouTube one time. You can look it up. Of Nickelback getting booed off stage at a big festival. And the first time I saw that, I thought this was the greatest video of all time. Watching, mediocre musicians get recognized as the mediocre musicians they are. And then someone said, but no one who's doing the thing that they love should get booed off stage for that. And I was like, you're right. So as much as Jesse Lingard is not my favorite, I feel bad about the question after thinking about it enough. So,
okay, fair enough.
Stupid conscience. But anyway, I would probably go with you, Jared. I think, yeah. I mean, I probably feel a bit like an imposter every day of my life, but being able to play in front of all those people, and yeah, I mean, you're gonna get. I don't know how. Honestly, I don't know how people in those positions shut the world out when you can go online and just see hundreds of thousands of people berating you on a daily basis. I don't know how they do it. And even the good ones get that, right? Even the really good ones get that. So it's a tough position to be in, but yeah, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, I would take the berating and standing with an England shirt on in front of 90,000 fans and turn Twitter off and Instagram off for a while.
Yeah, I think I could take it.
All right. Well, that was a good first question. You submitted another question, which is going to this is going to be a tough one to answer. So this is a similar question to what Blake and I had to answer earlier on in the show, hockey-wise, but this one's more soccer focused. So would you rather support Manchester City or Manchester United? Blake?
I'm going to go with City because I feel like even City fans don't even support City. And they're kind of just doing it to be fake. So, honestly, I don't think there's any team that I could support less than Man United. Even Everton, I would prefer Everton over Man United.
Oh, yeah. You know what? As tough as it is for me to say Manchester City just based on their recent rivalry with Liverpool, yeah, I just can't support Manchester United. I just can't do it even in a hypothetical scenario like this. And and yeah, I'm probably with Blake on this one, going with Manchester City and supporting them. I mean, here's the thing. I'm looking at players through Manchester City squad versus Manchester United squad. And Manchester United have pretty hateable players.
I was just gonna say, yeah,
like
City
Harry
have respectful
Maguire,
players.
Harry Maguire well, we already talked about Jesse
Yeah.
Lingard, like Paul Pogba, like guys like this. And then there's guys in Manchester City that I actually quite like. Like
Yeah, I agree.
Kevin De Bruyne, he's a beast. I love Kevin.
Yeah,
De
I
Bruyne.
love him. Aguero?
Big fan of
Aguero.
Aguero.
David Silva.
Yeah,
Yes,
Silva's there, yeah.
really good. And yeah, Gundogan I actually really like as well.
Yeah, he's great.
So Manchester City, I actually really like Leroy Sané too. I know he's been injured all year.
Yeah, I like him too.
But when he plays, I like him as well. So I'm gonna go with Manchester City. What about you, Dave?
I'm also with Manchester City. Part of it is I grew up in a house where Manchester United was kind of a swear word.
Yeah.
Along with Arsenal. Arsenal's the other team I just could never get behind, no matter what you told me. But Manchester City, realistically, like they've kind of been the underdog story in the last 10 years. They were a mid-table team, never really challenged for much back in the day, or back when I was a kid at least. And they built a solid team based on like incredible young talent. They brought in some, a few kind of mainstays from Europe as well, but like a lot of it's like homegrown talent that they bought these players young and trained them up, and they've got one of the best managers in the world right now. And I can't really say anything bad about them as much as they're our biggest rivals right now. They're a good team. So if you went 10 years back, we wouldn't be having this conversation because they were, a top half of the table team. And I went to Europe in 2013, just on a vacation, and we were somewhere, and a guy from Manchester was giving us a tour of Berlin, and I asked him, I was like, "Are you a United or a City fan?" He's like, "Oh, United. Everyone's going to wake up from this City dream eventually, and they're going to go back to being the crappy team they were." And he thought it was just unreasonable that Manchester City could be considered in the same sentence as Manchester United. And now they've been proven wrong. And I'm happy for them. It's good.
I was on a ski lift with someone from Manchester, and I asked him if he was a City or a United fan. And he told me, and I can't justify what he's saying or not, but he said that everybody outside of Manchester cheers for United, but everybody inside Manchester, actually from Manchester, cheers for City. So,
Interesting.
I don't know if there's any truth behind that, but
okay,
he's from there, so I don't know.
That's
It's just past winter, so.
Okay, right on.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I was interested to hear all of your answers on that because I thought I might be a bit on an island just because of the recent rivalry with Manchester City, but it sounds like we're all on the same page on that, so that's interesting.
I'm with you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Blake, did you have something to say?
No.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast today, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And sending in your questions. That was a lot of fun.
You got it, man. Thanks a lot.
All right. In the next segment, we will finish up period number 3, and we will answer more of your questions. So stay right there.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the third period. We've just finished with our chat with Dave, and we will be answering 2 more questions that we have.
Love
2 more
Dave.
Would You Rather questions. These ones are not very sports related, at all. So
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of our audience will probably appreciate that because we've been getting some feedback that some of our audience isn't really into the sports talk. So we got to dabble into some non-sports talk every now and then.
yeah, well, we do talk sports, kind of.
That's true. Yeah, it's right in our tagline.
Yeah, it's kind of our motto. So
Our marketing department back at it again. I don't know how.
yeah, they knew that it was we'd have a mixed crowd. So
That's right.
they were clever to put the kind of in there in the fine print.
That's right. Yes, pure marketing genius.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so let's dive into this first one here, Jared.
All right.
This question comes from Jake. The question is,
State Farm?
sorry,
Is it Jake from State Farm?
I haven't actually checked. It could be.
Right. Is he wearing khakis?
He sounds hideous, but
That got me. That was good.
All right, the question. Would you rather be able to teleport to one location and not be able to teleport back, or be able to fly, but the second you touch ground, you can't fly anymore?
Oh boy. So basically you can fly once in your life.
Or you just start flying and never stop?
Yeah, exactly. And the first one was teleport somewhere, but then you're stuck once you get there.
Yeah. Oh, is it like a
Okay.
one-time use?
The teleport sounds like you can. Oh, it almost sounds like the teleport one. Oh, I see what he's going after here. So you'd be able to teleport to one location, but not teleport back, and that's just like once in your life.
Right.
Or
These are both one-time use kind of things, yeah.
or you could fly for as long as you want without touching the ground.
Right.
But once you touch the ground, donezo.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand the question now. Um, I would say I would rather fly, and
Yeah?
I'll explain myself. The reason that you can fly is you can see more when you're flying. With teleporting, sure, like say I really wanted to go to Italy one day, I could teleport to Italy, stay there as long as I want, but then I have to pay to fly back. It's like, okay,
True.
what I could do is I could do a trip around the world flying. So I could basically just hover along the ground and fly like a bird nice and close to the ground without touching the ground and explore as long as I want.
Now, can you sleep while you're flying is the question.
There's probably a bird that could sleep while it flies.
You think so?
I'm sure there is. There's got to be.
I don't know.
Maybe if I just go high enough, catching a snooze while I kind of float to the bottom and then wake up before I hit the ground and go back up and do a repeat until I feel rested. Lots of loopholes here.
All right.
But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
I would pick that because I could go a long time and a long ways without touching the ground and seeing a lot of the world.
Okay. I'm going to throw a curveball at you now.
All right.
So with flying, you can do that. You can imitate that with like wingsuits or like parachuting or whatever you want to do, right? Now or you could just travel if your intent is to just see different places. You can just travel. But if you're able to teleport somewhere just one time, you can get into things that you're not allowed to get into otherwise. Like if you're, Liverpool just won the Champions League and you want to go celebrate with them in the locker room sort of thing, you can just be there, right?
But how long is that going to last until they notice you?
Still, you got to be in it and experience it. Or
Yeah.
that was the first example I thought of, but there's probably like other things that you could do, right?
Yeah, you're like you're celebrating with the Liverpool team. Next thing you know, you're in a British prison. That's happening. It's like, oh, perfect. Look where this stupid magic trick got me.
Yeah.
And I can't teleport back either.
No, you're done. But
I'm stuck.
if it wasn't something that wasn't like you'd end up in jail for, but something cool that you were not invited to,
Yeah.
or something that just happened to me instantaneously, and you're like, I need to be there right now.
Yeah, there's like a celebrity VIP party, and you're like in there with a suit pretending to be like a server or something. You're like, whoa, that's like Angelina Jolie. Oh, I don't watch anything really, so I don't know superstars. Oh, that's Brad Pitt. Oh, that's Steve Carell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's
Right.
I could see how that could throw a curveball, but I'm gonna stick with my flying, I think.
Okay.
What about you?
As much as I just threw that curveball, I'm not even like enticed by it. Like I don't think I'd ever use it for that. So flying is probably more interesting. If you can do it indefinitely, then I would for sure pick flying, because I could just never come down and just float above the earth and sleep and stuff and just fly everywhere. That'd be way cooler.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if you couldn't sleep while flying, I'd probably still pick it because I don't know, that's more useful, like you said.
Yeah. And there's things too, like just like functionally that you need to be on two legs to do as a human, where you couldn't do where you're flying. So it's like, yeah, there's some trade-offs, I guess. Like,
What do you really need to be on ground for, though?
well, if you're a human-sized bird and you're trying to go into a house, it's like, oh man, that's gonna be pretty hard to hover and fly through a house and like stay there. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you're just 1 centimeter off the ground, though, if you're a normal-sized person, that wouldn't be a problem.
But when you're flying, like you can't stand still, right? You have to constantly be moving.
Oh, so you can't hover.
No,
This isn't
so
like
you-
levitation.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
you can be low to the ground, but you have to keep moving, or else you're not gonna stay. You're not gonna stay above.
Huh.
So that's kind of the angle that I'm going at is like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to stay anywhere for a period of time, but you can like hover low to the ground like some birds do.
Right. Okay. That's fair. I would probably still pick flying then. Still.
Yeah, I would still pick flying. That's a good question though, Jake. Thanks for sending
Yeah,
that.
it was tough. Those one-time use kind of questions. It's like, that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So our very last question of the podcast, and this is an interesting one. So I'm interested to see what you have to say on this one. This comes in. This comes in from Brooke. Would you rather every shirt you wear be kind of itchy, or only be able to use one-ply toilet paper? Blake.
Let's say the toilet paper. Okay, if you're using toilet paper, do you have to use toilet paper? Can you use Kleenex?
It sounds like you'd only ever be able to use, like, for cleaning your butt after you go to the bathroom. You can only use one-ply toilet paper. You can't
Okay.
use the bidet. You can't use double-ply.
Okay, there's no loopholes here.
Kleenex, paper towel, your hand.
Right.
None of those substitutes that we talked about in the last episode.
Right. I'm gonna go with the 1+ still, because you can just ball it up and just
Ball
make so
it
much
up.
of it. Just make a lot of it, you know. And it's not the whole day. You're wearing a shirt for the whole day. I'd rather be uncomfortable for like however long it takes you to clean up versus the whole day. So
That's a good point, actually.
Right.
Have you tried wiping with a ball of toilet paper?
I haven't, but I know someone who does.
I can't imagine that'd be kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the
Yeah, he
worst.
says that he just balls it so that there's no chance that he can make a mistake or touch anything.
The university that I attended, which will remain unnamed, as they may want to be a sponsor of the podcast.
Right.
Yeah, you never know. This is what I don't get. These people, they have tons of money. Tons. There's tons of money that flows through universities, not only from the students, but from the government, from sponsors, etc. And they decide that they want to buy single-ply toilet paper for the bathrooms. It's like, I'm not a student anymore, but it's like, I'm not paying thousands of dollars to sit on the throne here in the library in peace and wipe with a single-ply piece of toilet paper. It's like, yeah, your hand goes right through it.
That's why you take a lot of it, though.
And then you get the tickle. No good.
Yeah, but you can get like, you could just stack it until it's like 2 centimeters deep if you wanted to. Like, there's no limit. I mean, that's overkill, but you know.
Yeah, you can do that. And then you just kind of feel bad. It's like, what about the trees? What about the trees that I'm killing?
Nah.
Nah. Yeah,
If
that's
they're
a
giving you
good
1-ply,
question.
they expect you to use a lot.
It's true. Yeah.
You know.
And they have custodians there at all times. Like every time you see them, oh look, the bathroom's closed again for the 18th time in the past 4 hours. Oh, why is that? Oh, because you buy single-ply toilet paper that runs out every time a person goes and takes a dump in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you use an entire roll. Oh, yeah. What a time to be alive. But I agree with you. Like, that's brutal. If you're kind of itchy at all time, like whenever you're wearing a shirt, that's horrible.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's like, you're just like always kind of on edge and not comfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can't like somebody like you and me that has to wear a collared shirt to work.
I don't have to wear a collared shirt.
You don't have to wear a collared shirt?
No.
I guess maybe not now that you're in your basement.
A lot too. I'm not even wearing a shirt right now, so.
Oh, that's good to know. Thanks for that visual. I mean, I guess I've given a lot of visuals in this segment too.
Yeah, I think we've passed that.
Yeah.
Burned that bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be super uncomfortable of just not being able to be comfortable and always being itchy. Like, oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like pretty easy for me. It seems like a pretty easy choice.
Yeah.
It would suck, but.
Yeah, single ply toilet paper, that's no fun.
Yeah.
No fun for all involved. And, and if you're a company out there that makes single ply toilet paper and you'd like to be a sponsor of this podcast, I'd just like to say I'd change my answer right now, and I'd rather be kind of itchy.
Yeah, I'm not firm to that.
Yeah. If you just you can send your request through to wetalksportskind@gmail.com. So
Right.
that quick,
Yeah. Great
that quick
segue.
plug out of the way.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on this segment, Blake?
Not particularly. It was just interesting to be able to do a remote session here with you guys and to have some guests come in for the first ever podcast. So that was an interesting experience, and it's a good quarantine memory that we'll have now of being able to do a podcast over remote.
It is, yeah. I had a lot of fun doing this, and being able to have guests chime in was a lot of fun. And we'll have to do another one where we can get some more guests on the podcast. Yeah,
well, it doesn't seem like the sports are going to be starting up soon anytime, so we may have to figure out what their next session will be. So I don't know if we have any ideas right now, but
yeah, if you have ideas, listeners, on what you want us to talk about, please, feel free to send through your ideas on social, on Twitter at redline_podcast. We're on Instagram, redline.podcast. We're also on Facebook at redline podcast. You can send in through your requests there, or you can send us an email at wetalksportskind@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to episode 3. It has been a blast. Bye-bye for now from Blake and I, and we will see you next time.